One very important principle that we need to learn is the rule of 25. So this is a retirement planning guideline stating that you need to save at least 25 times your desired annual expenses if you want to retire comfortably. So how it works is if you have, like, let's say for example, 1,000,000 pesos per your net worth, right? And if you follow the rule of 25 and you put it in an investment that earns around 6 to 7% per year, and then 3 to 4% of inflation is eating at that, you're left with about 4% growth. So if you safely withdraw that 4% of your portfolio in the first year and then you adjust it for inflation, your money will not run out. So your 1 million pesos will give you about 40,000 pesos in passive income. So obviously you need more than a million because 40,000 per year is not going to be enough. And so specifically, really, if you look at Maria's situation, that she will actually need 10 million to be able to cover this 33,000 pesos per month, because 10 million will give you around 400,000 pesos if you follow the rule of the 4% rule, and the rule of 25. They're both the same thing. And if you divide 10 million by 25 or multiply it by 4%, which again, by the way, is the same thing, then you're going to get about 400,000 per year in passive income. So about 33 to 35,000 pesos per month in income. So that's what she needs on top of her pension. So the question is, how do you grow 10 million pesos in 25 years? I want to reintroduce you to this framework that I've used in the previous video. And this framework is called the tree and seed method, where you have two things. Number one is you have a tree, something that you've grown over the years, and it bears fruit. So this is the initial investment that you need to reach by a certain age if you want to start preparing for retirement and be on track to build wealth. So the second part is you also need seeds that you continue to plant. So it's not enough that you have one tree, but even at this stage of life where you're still earning money, you still have like capacity to build more active income, then you're gonna continue to plant seeds. So these are investment amounts that's much smaller than your tree, but it helps you to create an additional layer of growth for the next 20, 30, 35 years. Now, if you do the exact math, essentially what's going to happen there, and if you allow it to compound over time, is you're going to have a bunch of trees in your retirement age that will continue to give you passive income so that you can live a life of freedom. That's not to say that you won't continue working. You can if you want to, but now you don't have to, because just your passive income alone can now cover your basic expenses. So in a situation where you start at 40 years old, going with the same assumption that we did in the previous video, which I'll link right here, where I showed you a plan for people in their 30s. Now we just move that back and put it, into a situation where someone in their 40s will have the same tree. And the amount that I want to start with and I want to advocate for is to shoot for your first 500,000. And so let's say, for example, you're 40 years old, you've saved up not your emergency fund, but on top of your emergency fund, you'll have about 500,000 pesos in disposable income. If you have that, now all you need to do is to continue investing from the age of 40 to 65 so that you can continue to let that investment fund that you have grow over time. So that the question is, how much do you continue to invest? And that's the math that we want to figure out. For the next 25 years, how much can you and should you invest over that course of time for you to reach that 10 million peso goal, milestone, so that you can have enough money to cover your basic lean retirement? So if you do the math, right, and you put your target at 10 million pesos, you start with 500,000 pesos as your tree, and then let's assume that you put your investment into a fund that will have an expected annual return of 8%. Now, obviously, in the Philippines, there's not a lot of investments that can provide this. And so, like for us personally, that's why my wife and I says we put most, if not a lot, like a big majority of our investments in the global markets. Because in the global markets, especially in stronger economies, 8% is quite conservative already. Like the S&P 500, for example, has kind of been tracking at around 10 to 12% per year in growth. Of course, it goes up and down, but it averages out at about 10 to 12% per year. So, adjusted for inflation, 8% is a really doable target. And then going to the time horizon, now from age 40 to 65, you have about 25 years to compound. So looking at this calculator right here, your target is 10 million, starting amount 500,000. So after 25 years at a return rate of 8%, you will need to contribute around 7,000 pesos. So 7,234 pesos and 13 cents to be exact. And if you invest that amount every single month for the next 25 years, then you will reach 10 million. The starting amount that you have against 500,000, you're going to have total contributions of about 2,170,000 over the course of about 25 years. But that 500,000 plus 2 million, so about 2.6, 2.7 million, will grow an interest of about 7.3. So you end up with a balance of 10 million pesos. And so that's all it takes. It takes 7,234 pesos per month, which sounds like a lot of money, but it's very doable. Can you hit 7,234 a month? If yes, then I encourage you, this is the best time to start. And this is really something that I really encourage people to do if they want to hit a certain goal. It's to understand first what that goal looks like, and then understand what it's going to take for you to reach that goal. Because if you have a clear financial independence number in mind, and you have a plan to get there, you're gonna have a lot more clarity. You're gonna have a plan. So you're not gonna go and say, well, I let's just hope and pray that I have 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 at the end of the month that I can invest more so that I can hit retirement. No. If you have a plan in place, you can steadily, comfortably put in 7,234 pesos every single month for 25 years. But this is where it gets important because 7,000 plus plus per month, it changes dramatically if you wait a little bit longer. Now let me show you the number that actually motivated me to record this video. Now let's say for example you're going back to Maria, no? And Maria goes and says, "You know what? I'll give myself 5 more years to prepare for retirement. I'll just delay it 5 years. I want to enjoy a little bit more. I'm not so sure, I mean, like if I just maybe bring it up from 7 to 9,000 pesos per month, by that time I will be able to catch up." Well, truth of the matter is, newsflash, Maria won't be able to catch up if that's the case, because the math tells us that if you start at 45 years old, and so you only have 20 years now left to contribute and to let that investment compound, to get to the 10 million mark, Maria's not going to need 7,000. She's not going to need 9,000. She's not going to need 10, 11, 12. She's going to need 13,478 pesos per month plus 97 cents if she wants to hit the 10 million mark. So almost double the amount of the seed that she needs to put in if she started at 40 years old. So look at that very carefully now. If you start at 40, 7,200 plus plus per month. That's all you need to invest to reach the 10 million. Start at 45 years old, you're going to need 13,000 pesos per month. So if you run the math, that's roughly about 1.1 million more in total contributions. Because again, look at this very carefully. If we kind of zoom in, right? And you look at the contributions that Maria made if she started investing at 40, she would invest about 2.170 to reach her goal of 10 million. But if she started at 45, she's going to need more than that. She's going to need to put in 3.234 million. So again, 1.1 million pesos more to reach the same goal, to reach the same milestone. So that's the money that you have to earn and put in yourself, because compounding didn't have enough time to do the work for you. Once again, that phrase, right? And this phrase comes from, the seasoned and legendary investor Warren Buffett, or he's the one that made it popular. Time in the market beats timing the market, because there's a cost every single year that you wait to invest. And so the earlier that you start, the less that you have to contribute. If you invest earlier, you're gonna have more time to let compounding do the work for you. That 7, 8, 9, 10% annual growth in your fund, it really makes the world of a difference over the long term. And that's why time horizon really matters. And I want to leave you with this statement. The best time to invest was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. So if you're 40 years old today, you've kind of seen the math and you're convinced that, okay, this is the math that I need to see, then I hope, I really, really do hope that you take action. Don't wait for the perfect time, which I say over and over again in my YouTube videos. There is no such thing as the perfect time. The perfect time is the time that you can start. And the time that you can start is right now.